He gonna get what he gonna get out of us. If we have to, he casts all the way around the house to come through the back door. He gonna get to. He gonna get what he said he gonna do. Yes, yes, ma'am. All right. So digging your own well. Did y'all read chapter 26? It's a good chapter. Isaac went through some of the same things his dad did. Verse 1 talks about a famine. And we know what a famine is. Shortage of food, shortage of water. We hope we won't come to that. But we trust God. But God told him to get up. Don't go to Egypt, he said. He said, you go where I'll send you. So he went on down. And in verse 3, God reminds him of the promise that he made to his father, Abraham. The same promise. We find that promise that he made for Abraham in Genesis chapter 12. But he promised him. He said, verse 2, go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell you of. The same thing he told Abraham. Sojourn in this land, and I'll be with thee. He said, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to bless your seed. I'm going to give you countries, and I form an oath, which I swear unto Abraham their father. So that's verse 2 and 3. God said, I'm going to do for you what I promised your dad I'm going to do. Now, you can't go down to Egypt. You go where I tell you to go. And so he sent him. He's in verse 4, he said, I'm going to multiply your seed like the stars of heaven. I'm going to give you your seed all these countries. That means his heirs going to have all this he promised them. And then all the nations are going to be blessed. That's us. That's us, that promise. And we know that's who? Jesus. That's the promise, Jesus. And so I thank you, Lord, for thinking about little old me. He said in verse 5, I thought it was so wonderful. God was telling Isaac what he was going to do. And then he said, because that Abraham obeyed my voice, kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. He said, I'm going to do this for you. First of all, because I promised, but I'm going to do it because Abraham did what he was supposed to do. Legacy. Yeah. Ain't that what we're talking about today? Yeah. Legacy. What is a legacy? Lineage. Yeah, something. Okay. I looked at, I know we all know who it is, but I was looking and searching, and it says something left behind for generations after you. Money, possessions. But then I thought about the church. Spiritual legacy. That's what we're talking about today. We ain't talking about, I ain't got no money to leave mine. I'm going to try to spend mine. They won't have no need to be fighting. Now, you can have my stuff, but there ain't going to be no lot of money. But anyway, we're talking about a spiritual legacy today. And so I said, Lord, thank you for your word. All right, so he went on, and God told him where to go. So Isaac, verse 6, dwelt in Gerar. And then he went on and lied, and they went on. He had somebody's wife. He said, that's my sister. Yep, just like a daddy did. And he went on. And so as he went on, as time passed, I can't pronounce it, Abimelech, that's it. The king, he looked out a window and he saw that Isaac was with his wife, with her, and he realized, you done lied to me, boy. And he called him in, he told him, he said, she ain't none of your sister, and don't nobody put their hands on, and he charged his people in verse 11. And so verse 12, the king told, don't nobody touch this man's wife. He let him know. Verse 12 says, and Isaac sowed in that land and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And he waxed great. That means he increased. God provided for him, took care of him, and in the process, he gained a lot of stuff. He had so much stuff that the folks around there were getting mad and getting jealous, looking at him, getting all this stuff that he done moved down here in Magnolia, and look what he got. That's basically what they saying. He done moved here, and Lord done blessed and opened doors. God done rained from heaven. And Isaac had all this stuff. And then Abraham had dug all these wells, and then the Philistines, they done filled them up. Well, I thought about it, what's the significance of these wells? Well, these folks need water. Water was a great commodity in their time and day, just like I grew up. Gladys, we grew up with real water. It was good. I'm sure Miss Anson had some. And it was good water. Wasn't nothing wrong with it. I remember drawing that water, and we had to take a bath. You had to have water. But it was a great commodity back in their day. And so the Philistines, the enemy, yes, ma'am, had filled up all the wells. And so they wanted him to get out of town. That's verse 16. Abimelech the king told Isaac, go from us, for thou art much greater than we. So Isaac left. Lord sent him down there into the valley of Gerar, and that's where he dwelt. And as he was digging wells and stuff, they didn't find any water. Or they found some water. They come back and they fight him about it, make him run off and leave. And so he kept on digging. They kept on digging. Okay, now we get to our lesson. First outline, reassurance. Reassurance means this, removing doubt or fear. That's what reassurance means. Verse 24 says, and the Lord appeared to him, Isaac, the same night after he done left, and said, I am the God of Abraham, thy father. That's a reminder of who he is. Fear not. Don't be afraid, for I'm with you. That's reassurance. I'm going to bless you, and I'm going to multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. He just reminded him of that promise he gave his dad. He promised him all these things, and it's wonderful to see what God promises us, because we know he don't lie. He ain't going to forget like I did. Sister Gladys told me to come by her house yesterday. I forgot till she called and reminded me. God don't forget. He going to do what he said he going to do. We ain't got to check him. My grandkids, Grandma, you said you going to cast her. I did not say that. I'm going to do it. Well, that's the same way God is. You ain't got to remind him of his promise. He going to do what he said he going to do. He said, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to multiply. Ain't that's some kind of blessing. And so, and he, Isaac, did what? He built an altar there, and he called upon the name of the Lord. What did he do? He went to church. He worshiped where he was. He built an altar, and he was thanking God for the promises that he promised his dad. God said, I'm still going to do it for you. And so Isaac was excited for that reassurance. God removed his doubt and his fears. You know, sometimes we face obstacles, and we're in the valley sometimes. We don't know what's going to happen. Well, Lord, I'm sick. What am I going to do? Got to go to the doctor. Got to have all these bills, all these tests. We face fear. We face doubt. But we have a reassurance from God. He will never leave us. He will never forsake us. That's reassurance. Just like he promised him, he promised us all these things, his word. He going to keep them. He going to keep them. And so that's what he said in the first outline. He reassured Isaac that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do for your dad. I got your back. I'm going to do it for you. So Isaac built that altar. He called upon the name of the Lord. And then he pitched his tent. He moved in. And there Isaac's servants started digging another well. That's the first outline. All right, any questions on that first outline? This is a good lesson. It had so much in it. Second outline, reconciliation. What does that mean? Restoring, bringing back, rebuilding relationships, because that's what happened. Reconciliation. I'm mad at Sister Diane, but we're going to make up, and we're going to put that behind us. That's what he did. Reconciliation. Okay, so then the king Abimelech went to him. He traveled to where Isaac was and went to him from Gerar. Now Isaac them is still out there in the valley. And Ahuzah, one of his friends, and Pikacol, the chief captain of the army, they went with the king. And Isaac said to him, wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me and have sent me away from you? Now the NIV says, Isaac asked him, why you come to me since you were hostile to me and sent me away? That's what we said. What you want to talk to me about? You mad with me, now here you come talking to me. That's the way we said. I ain't got time for you. That's what I would have said. You said what you had to say, so I'm through. But that ain't what they did. But, ma'am, yeah, that's exactly right. That's what we said, Sister Diane. And so they said, we saw certainly that the Lord was with you. They knew who had his back. They knew who kept blessing and blessing and blessing Isaac. And they wanted a part of that. Now, let's just be honest. Let's just be real. Sometimes folk want to be next to you because they see what you got. Sometimes that's where it happens. But that's what happened. They said, we saw certainly that the Lord was with thee. And we said, let there be now an oath, that's a promise, between us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant. What is a covenant? An agreement. He wanted to make an agreement with him. He said that you won't do us any hurt, as we have not touched you, so I ain't did nothing to you, so don't you do nothing to us. That's what he's saying. We have done, as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace, that thou art now the blessed of the Lord. NIV says, we saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said there ought to be a sworn agreement between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you. So that's what the king and his cohorts came down there to do. They wanted to be friends. And so that's what they did. They should have told Lord before they got him out of there. Well, you know what? Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees. They didn't realize God was going to bless them abundantly. They didn't understand. They didn't know. You know, people around you sometimes don't know why your life being blessed. They don't know what agreement God promised you. And so that's where we are. But God promises awesome things. And he's going to go through what he said. But my blessing may not be what sisters over there. But God he promised us things, and he's going to go through. And so they made a feast. And they ate and they drank and they rose up and in the morning. So they spent the night. And they swore unto one another. They made this agreement. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. They was on good terms. They was all on one accord when they left there. Okay. I'm going to wait on verse 32 and 33 because there's some things I want to talk about before we end up the lesson. I want to talk about legacy. And I want to talk about culture and the black culture. What are we passing down? Because really, that's what we're talking about, digging your own well. We had Juneteenth. It was the 20th, and they celebrated yesterday, and we do all these things. And Juneteenth was an act of emancipation. They were freed, the slaves was. And we make it a big thing, and we celebrate, and ain't nothing wrong with that. We ought to celebrate our roots, and we ought to celebrate our culture. But how was the Christian emancipated? Because emancipation means freedom. How was we emancipated? Jesus, on the cross. We share stuff about our roots. We share stuff about our heritage. We're a culture of people that dance, and we sing, and we cook, and we rejoice, and we believe in family. What about our emancipation with what Christ did for us on the cross? So we digging our wells and sharing it. Because water means what? Life. It means life. If you dig a well, you're looking for something. You're looking for water. Water does what? Sustain us, keeps us. We can't live without it. What about the emancipation for a Christian standpoint? Our children can't live without Christ. They living, but they don't have life. And I'm talking about life eternal. Just here. Our culture and the legacy that we're supposed to be leaving for our children. We're not doing it. We're not digging wells and giving them that living water, because that's what this lesson is all about. God promised Abraham, what? I'm going to give you all these things. I'm going to bless you. Same thing he's telling us. He blessing us. He keeping us. Are we passing it on? Thank you. They don't even know about emancipation. They think Juneteenth is the putting it on the ground on the boots and all that, and dancing and flopping. But for us old folk, it means something. I remember going in the doctor's office and sitting in the back because the white folk was in the front. I remember that. I remember being in a segregated school. And I know grandma and older than me remember worse than that. Well, I also remember when I was saved and how Christ emancipated me and saved my soul. So I have a responsibility to do what? Dig a well, pass it on. Got to tell it. Why? Because we live in a world that's broken, racist, still racist. It's covered. It's masked. Some of them wide open with it. Some got it covered. Still. But, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. To pass it on. That's right. To pass it on. Because this lesson says digging our own well. We as black people have gotten away from the church. We see that as our young people say that's a white man culture. I don't know about that, a white man religion. But I know what he did for me. And it's up to Lily to pass that on to my children and my grandchildren. Let them know about digging a well. You're going to need life. And that life is in the water. But it was in the blood, because that's what he did on Calvary. So emancipation, yes, ma'am.
We have to teach them.
That's right.
For them to come back when the Bible says.
Proverbs 22 and 6.
You may stray away, but you'll come back.
I got it.
So
We got a responsibility. Yes, ma'am.
If they stray away,
That's right.
they'll come back.
Proverbs 22. I got that on my paper, Sister Diane. Train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, that means he's going to get old. When he is old, he will not depart from it. That means, and the only way they don't depart from it got to be in them. And the only way they're going to get in them, we got to tell them. Mine don't want to go. Well, we ain't going this evening. I don't remember asking you what you were doing this evening. Did I ask you? Well, Grandma, we don't want to go. You was all right going to that splash water yesterday. God done let you live another day. What you think you going to do? You leaving this house going to church. If that bus go down that road, you better be on it. I don't ask them what they want to do. You ain't got no choice in this house. You ain't paying no light bill. You ain't paying no water bill. You're going to do what I say do. And that's the bottom. That well already do it. You're going to be obedient. You're going to learn about Christ. What you do with it later on is you. But you ain't going to say, Grandma didn't teach me. You ain't going to say, Grandma didn't tell me. We have a responsibility. And not only to my grandkids, I got a responsibility to all these kids running around here. I met a little white girl yesterday at the little water park. She was playing with my little grandkids. And she run up there and she said, well, she had that little old toy. Will you keep this for me? I said, I sure will. I'll take care of it. She grabbed my finger. She said, can I call you Grandma? I said, sweetheart, you certainly can. She said, okay, I'll be back. And she did my little finger like this. She run off and she had fun with the kid and she came back. But we got to pass on. Got to pass on love. It don't matter about color. When you burn in hell, ain't going to be no color but black. Burn up, but it never burn up. But that's going to be the only color down there. But in heaven, anybody can go. All you got to do is accept the Savior. But emancipation. Christ emancipated us. He saved us. He released us from that bondage of sin. And so as a legacy, we need to be passing it on. We have a responsibility like Sister Maddie. All right, now.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
The generations today, when you, because I try to say to tell my grandkids, but you know what, well, I didn't really go through nothing hard.
Right.
But what my grandparents told me about them,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember when we had the bathtubs, you know, and they think now everything is so easy.
Oh, yeah.
We all had a hole when y'all was coming up, we ain't go through, but they don't realize.
But they keep on, they will.
It's
Sure will.
coming up again.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yeah, just have enough time to prove itself.
That's right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. We have to we have to be aware of the situations in the world we live in. You know, we can't go around with our head in the sky and the cloud and da da da. It's coming. Got to tell them. If we don't tell them, they won't even know what they're experiencing. Yeah. That's it. Absolutely. So we have a responsibility because, you know, we've passed on that culture. You know, my family, on my mama's side, a bunch of us, and we believed in family dinners. We believed in singing Christian songs, and looked like every holiday we was together, right, y'all? We did family thing. I remember growing up in my home when my parents was living. We ate dinner together. We sat down. Wasn't no going in the other room and sit down and eat and watching the TV and one on the phone. We didn't do that. Well, we didn't have no phone. Didn't even have a house phone. Barely had a commode. But culture. God has blessed the black culture. He's brought us a long, long, long way. But in bringing, we've lost some stuff, y'all. We've lost some stuff. We left stuff behind because, yeah, they got a lot of stuff, and I got more than I ever had. I ain't used to these cell phones. Somebody said, you called me. I know I didn't. It was in my pocket, in my purse. I didn't call you. Old folks don't need a phone. That's what I told them. Yeah. But our culture, you know, I was raised going to church. My parents brought us to church. I remember sometimes we had to walk. I remember going to my grandmother's house in Magnolia, right up the street from Jones Chapel. We didn't go over there to go to church, but they had BTU, and we were still over there. And guess what? We didn't have no shoes on, foot dusted. Guess what? We went to church. We went to church. Wasn't no discussing it. You at grandma's house, you going to church. We walked down that road with grandma down to Jones Chapel, dusty feet and all. We went.
That has been my philosophy all along. When children left home
Yes, ma'am.
and they coming on weekend,
Yeah,
you better bring them to church.
that's right.
Come to church.
That's right.
I'm not gonna stay here with you.
No, ma'am.
They had no choice.
That's it. That's it. Digging our own well of faith. We got to put do our children, do our young people know we have faith?
They're not getting it from home, and they're definitely not getting it in school. Since the schools have become integrated, we have lost some generations.
So what we got to do about it?
And that's why we here in Mount Zion, Sister Mary and I, we try to look for every opportunity to present Ms. Hanson,
Yep.
all of the things that she had back there, to
Right.
introduce them and let them know
Yep.
where we came from, what we had to endure,
So we got to.
be able to enjoy doing nothing.
So we've got to share our legacy. We got to share our culture. It's not all about wiggling and dancing and barbecuing and we all at that family and they out and they drinking. It ain't all about that. I'm not saying don't have no fun. I had fun when I was young, but when I found Christ, it was a different kind of fun. But we've got to, because we losing the battle, y'all. Now, Christ won it on Calvary. But we are losing it on our end because we're not sharing it. We're not telling them, you're going to need that well of living water. You're going to need Christ. We're losing the battle. And so we got to get on the battlefield. That's what it's all about. They may ain't going to want to hear it. I didn't want to hear when mama come in there, you need to get up and get ready for church. You was out late. You going to church. You think I said anything? Not out loud. Y'all know, mama. I ain't said nothing out loud. I rolled my eyes in that room, and I got my ugly self up and come on church. Because she wasn't finna hear that.
I remember when Terry was in high school, they would have track meets and it was during the same time as youth revival.
Uh-huh.
I said, y'all don't have time to go home. You wait till y'all go to church and get out that bus.
Right.
So one of them told him, he's so glad when I got out of high school, I ain't never going to church.
That was a lie. He didn't know what the Lord had. He didn't know what God had planted. He didn't know what well God had dug in his life.
But my mom had left this legacy, and this is way before he even left here. And every holiday, my dad believed in barbecuing every holiday,
Mm-hmm.
St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day. I thought it was
Well.
young people, not them,
Well,
But we had to buy
That's a blessing.
And as of that day, we still are doing, I'm still doing it.
That's a good legacy. That is a wonderful legacy. Wonderful legacy. Let me finish this up real quick. Verse 32 said, "It came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came, and he told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto them, We have found water. And he called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba until this day." So there was another blessing. They found water and digging that well. Y'all, we got to dig. Yes, ma'am. A city. It's just a city. Their names had significance. Now, I didn't look it up, but Beersheba is still there today, and they put names to stuff where they were living at.
It says the name Beersheba, the meaning is well of the oath.
All right, well of oath. Oath, O-A-T-H, well of promise. Or well, they made that agreement. So that was a well of an agreement. Yeah. So, what y'all got to say about this lesson and our legacy of Christ and passing on and things that we're supposed to be doing? Maybe we done slid on. We ain't keeping it up. Prayer time with the kids, because sometimes I forget. Grandma, we're going to pray tonight. Go on and pray. Go on. Don't wait on me, because you know what? I ain't going to be here with you always. I may be in the bathroom. Grandma, go on, pray. But, we've got to build up their relationships. And the only way they're going to do it, we got to be examples, y'all. We got to be examples. And the only way we're going to do that is show them Christ.
Make me uncomfortable with that parent being there because just like us 7:15 at home,
Yes, ma'am.
that's our Bible class now.
Right.
But anything happens that they know of or heard I didn't hear,
Mm-hmm.
you know what that means. I said, "What, baby? It's prayer time."
All right.
He wants to do the prayer, so I don't stop it.
No.
The other day they was laughing at him at work. I was trying to get out to get in the store.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Now, nobody was with me but just a little baby boy, PJ." I said, "PJ can't drive that buggy." He said, "Grandma, let me try." I didn't want
Oh.
to say no. I said, "Okay, baby." But I hit me and he gonna hit the car. He got on that thing and drove it like he drove it better than Aiden did. He got to the car and a lot of people from out of the field, they saw him and people out there in the parking lot was looking. I didn't even know were looking.
Right.
And they were saying, "You can let him drive you home. Just pump that seat up a little
Mm-mm.
bit."
What'd you say? Mm-mm.
And he did a good job. Didn't hit the car at all.
That's good. That's good.
Just let me try.
Yeah. That's right, Grandma.
We also got to live it.
You sure right. We've got to be that example. That's it.
Telling them and not doing it is two different
Because you know what? Living it is a better example than saying it, ain't it? Yep. Anybody else?
things. I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one.
Absolutely. Because they looking. They looking. All right. Anybody else? Anything else on our lesson?
I am gonna tell Asa you're gonna adopt another little grandchild. You're gonna marry.
It's a lot about, sometimes I'm like my pastor now. I don't believe in a lot of children. I fool with them, but that ain't my line, and they gravitate to me, and I said, Lord, help me. And I keep on going, and because, hey, I done added 2 more to the bunch today. Uncle Dude laughed at me earlier. Jabril said, Grandma, you got some money? I said, how many of y'all is it? I done forgot how many. But anyway, God is good. And I know that he's surrounding me with them because he know I love him. He know I have chosen him as my life. And I'm going to be with him when I leave here. And I've got to leave that legacy. And they know I love them enough to tell them about Jesus. And I demand you going to church. That's just all there is to it. And you know what? And in that bunch, all those little ones y'all see me with, I have one natural grandchild. Those other kids are not my grands, but they call me grand. And I'm going to be grandma. Whenever they answer, Grandma, can you buy? Where y'all money at? Grandma, you got some money? And then there I go looking crazy buying. But I love them. And I wouldn't dare tell them not to call me grandma. And God is good. And just the way he promised Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and the rest of them, I'm a part of that promise. And so are my grands. And so we've got to leave that legacy. All right, that's the lesson, sister.
I don't know what time it was. We want to thank Sister Lily for an awesome lesson. That is a question that we do need to ask ourselves. What is our legacy? What is our legacy? Is our legacy, teaching them boots on the ground? What is our legacy? What are we teaching our children? I see them every day. Monday through Friday during the school year, I see them. What are we teaching them? What are we leaving them? What are we instilling in them? I had a conversation with my grandson this morning. He wanted to wear something else, and I said, no, you're not putting that on. You're going to put on something else. And so he's like, well, I don't see why. I said, I know you don't see why, but I'm going to tell you why. That's because when you come into God's house, you are presenting yourself to God. We are filthy rags in his sight, so you need to fix that rag up so it'll look like something when you come in to God's house. I said, that's why. I said, if I don't tell you, who will? I said, so when you leave with me, I said, first of all, you already know how I'm going to be. You already know what I'm going to say. You already know. So why am I having to reiterate this to you? But I took the time out this morning to let him know, no, you're not putting that shirt on. All them shirts I bought you, you better go in there and put on one of them other ones. But it's what do we leave our children? Because we've got to leave one day. What are we leaving them? What are we putting in them? Yeah, you got to give them a strong foundation. So, yeah, I leave. They might kind of wobble, but their foundation is strong. Reverend Colin's almost his last year, he gave us all his sermons. He tried to instill in Mount Zion a strong foundation, a legacy that will live on. Yeah, some of us have. Some of them have. But you know what? He gave you a book. You can go back and read it. Go back and read it. He tried to give us a strong foundation. Oh, well, that's between them and God. You got to let God work that out. My job is to treat you good and let God work that out with you. But we have to have a strong foundation. If the foundation is not strong, you're going to waver. Abraham left Isaac a strong foundation. Isaac left his children a strong foundation. What will they say about us when we leave? Did we leave them a strong foundation? So on next Sunday, our topic on June 29th, Jacob sets up a sacred pillar. Our devotional reading is John chapter 15, verses 1 through 8. Our background scripture is Genesis chapter 28, verses 1 through 22. Chapter 33, 17 through 20, chapter 35, verses 1 through 7, and our printed text is Genesis chapter 28. We do encourage you all to come back out and be a part of our Sunday school on next Sunday.